Caution! The AJ and Quill show contains D&D content and is intended for a D&D audience. And, besides that, they're really weird.
The red-scaled host with fire in his veins, strategic depths where no fear remains. From mighty battles to the cunning foe, roll the dice, let the tactics flow.
So everyone knows the Drow are masters of shadow, but few have seen them dance in the light. Imagine a warrior who moves with the elegance of a ballerina, the speed of a professional MMA fighter, and the divine magic of a goddess. Today we're bridging the gap between the ancient lore of the Forgotten Realms and the brand new 2024 rules. We're building a Sword Dancer of Eilistraee, a multi-class powerhouse that proves you don't need a lute to be the deadliest bard in the battlefield. This is min-maxing and multi-classing, so prepare to absorb the knowledge Quill will dispense with his mighty jaws, and let's dive on in. Hi, and welcome to a new segment called Min-maxing and Multi-classing. We're here to take iconic lore and media characters and turn them into optimized 2024 Dungeons & Dragons builds. Today, we're looking at the Sword Dancer of Eilistraee. So, who is Eilistraee? She's the goddess of good aligned drow, moonlight dance, swordwork, and a couple other things. She's the daughter of Corellian Lorathian, the god of all elves, and of Lolth, the Spider Queen. Now, while her mother wants drow trapped in the Underdark, Eilistraee wants them dancing under the stars. Now, among her clergy, there really aren't very many clerics, about 6%, or paladins, about 2%. The vast majority of her clergy are what we would call sword dancers, at around 90%. Her holy symbol doesn't have her carrying a sword for no reason. She's also a goddess of swordwork, and her style is that of a dancing symphony of blades. Music, song, and dance all hold powerful meaning inside the Church of Eilistraee, as they are intrinsic to the nature of Eilistraee's iconic magic called spell song. Now, spell song is magic that's invoked through singing, music, and dance. Kind of sound familiar? A little like bardic magic. Now, sword dancers, her specialty priests, don't pray. They practice a devastating martial art that blends swordplay and divine worship and spell song, and they use it to free their kin from Lolth's grasp in the Underdark. Now for the secret history. Now, you might have heard of blade singers. In fact, we covered them in a previous video. The surface elves developed a uniquely elven fighting style known as blade singing. It emphasizes beauty and economy of movement over sheer destructive power. However, elven blade song is deceptively dangerous for all of its seeming gentleness and apparent grace. Now, an important part of the lore is elves do not share this blade song style with any of the other species, nor do they share it with the drow, for fear that the drow or any other enemies would learn blade song and use it against them. But when you look at the complete Book of Elves, it does say that drow have their own unique style similar to blade singing and their own teachers of it anyway. But that's basically all the complete Book of Elves ever said about it. But when you read the new Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerûn book, it says that temples of Eilistraee are some of the few places willing to teach the elven technique of blade singing, because her priests practice a special variant of it called sword dancing, which blends blade singing with bardic arts from the College of Dance. But it's faster, more fluid, and honestly a little bit cooler. This is that drow style that they referenced in the complete Book of Elves. Aesthetics and playstyle. Now, before we get into any of the numbers, let's talk vibe. When you play this build, don't think Jaskier as a bard standing in the back strumming his lute, casting spells and bardic inspiration. I want you to instead think more K-pop demon hunters and capoeira. Bards of the College of Dance know that the words of creation cannot be contained within speech or song alone. The words of creation are echoed in the movements of celestial bodies.
Earth, while it's rotating on its axis, is also wobbling.
A College of Dance bard's bardic performance is their movement. Their percussion is the sound of their fists bashing into their enemies. Their music is the sound of their weapons singing through the air. These are monks. And like monks in Dungeons & Dragons, they use unarmed strikes. But instead of focus points, or ki as it used to be called, they use spell song to weave magic directly into their unarmed strikes and weapons attacks. The style is elegant and misleadingly slow and graceful, and then BAM! They've landed 3 hits and they've already drifted out of reach before the enemy can even blink. Now in the lore, it even says that Spellsong would let her sword dancers and her clergy cast cleric spells. And at level 10, bards get magical secrets, which gives them access to cleric and druid spells. So this lines up pretty well. Now the build, the min-maxing and multi-class method. Now if you want to keep this simple but still have the same vibe, you can simply go a pure College of Dance bard. It functions very similarly to the min-max and multi-class version, but it's a little less complicated. However, the tactics they use are going to be exactly the same. And they'll get access to magical secrets quite a bit sooner. Now for the 3M version, we want you to reach the absolute ceiling of this concept. Note, min-maxing isn't particularly hard.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Really, any idiot can do it. I'm one of them. But there's a complication that a lot of builders don't really address because they tend to build in a vacuum. Many multi-class builds don't really get their effectiveness until later levels. Before that point, they can actually feel underpowered because they'll be missing things like feats or extra attacks that other characters who are single class will get sooner. The real skill in min-maxing and multi-classing comes in leveling your characters so that they stay effective and relevant while they're waiting for all their multi-class shenanigans to kick in.
You mean shenanigans? No!
So here's the blueprint. We're going to go Dance Bard to level 14 and Blade Singer to level 6. Now why level 6 Wizard? We're going level 6 Blade Singer because we need this special Blade Singer extra attack. It lets you take the attack action to make 2 attacks, but swap one of those attacks for a cantrip, which is key for this class. And we're going Bard level 14 because we want to get at least to level 10 for magical secrets so we can access those clericy spells. And if we're already going to level 10, we may as well go to level 14 and get the final subclass feature. Now when you do it this way, you'll get access to level 7 spells and have level 9 spell slots to use them. Now there are other ways to build this. You could go Bard 10 and Wizard 10. You're basically trading Leading Evasion for Song of Defense, which is fine, but this way you're only going to learn up to level 5 spells with level 9 spell slots. Not necessarily a deal breaker, but I like the higher level spells. Now starting out, for your stats, we're going to organize them this way. 8, 15, 10, 13, 10, 15. We pick these stats so that by level 20 you'll max out your dexterity and your charisma with all your feats and ability score improvements. You're going to need the high charisma for your armor class and to use 2 strike, which is going to be your main attack for a long time. But it means you can rely on your charisma for your attack damage. You need high dexterity for your armor class and for your unarmed strikes, and any non-true strike weapon attack. An important note, true strike will not work with unarmed strikes, it has to have a weapon. You also need 13 in intelligence for the wizard multiclass, but if you were going pure bard, you could always put that 13 into constitution where it'll serve you better. For background, I'm choosing Acolyte. This feels thematically appropriate and it gives you the magic initiate feat to give you some clerical spells for that cleric-y feel at earlier levels. We picked Guidance because it's awesome, and Word of Radiance. We picked Word of Radiance because it's an AoE melee attack. Until level 10, once you get the Blade Singer extra attack, you're only going to have 1 attack with your main action. But if there are multiple opponents, meaning at least 3, Word of Radiance will actually out-damage True Strike. So, if you have multiple enemies, this is a good option. And for the level 1 spell, we picked Shield of Faith. You could also pick Bless, would be a pretty reasonable option. Now to start out, you're going to go Bard from level 1 to level 4. For your subclass, you're going to pick College of Dance. This gives you a few things, but starting out, it gives you Dazzling Footwork. It gives you Unarmored Defense so that your Charisma and Dexterity both add into your armor class. It gives you Agile Strikes so that anytime you use Bardic Inspiration, you can also make an unarmed strike as part of that same action for free. And this Bardic damage should actually be called the Bardic Unarmed Strike. It just means that you can use Dexterity instead of Strength when you make attack rolls with unarmed strikes. And when you deal damage with an unarmed strike, you can deal bludgeoning damage equal to your Bardic Inspiration die, but that doesn't spend the die when you do that. With this build, for your first feat, you're going to pick Weapon Master. Bump your dexterity, that'll make it 18. And for the weapon choice, ultimately you're going to pick Scimitar with Nick, although at this point you don't have access to it because you're not proficient with scimitars yet. You'll get that from Bladesinger later. For now, either put that into daggers or spears, because that's probably the weapon you're going to be using. After that, you're going to go 6 levels into Wizard and pick Blade Singing as your subclass. And at this point, your AC is going to skyrocket, because your unarmored defense is going to stack with your Blade Song. Blade Song, when active, gives you a bonus to your armor class equal to your intelligence modifier. Right now that's only a 1. You could increase that as you level up, or you could find an item like a Circlet of Intellect to boost your intelligence to 19 and really get a good bonus. It also gives you proficiency with the weapons like Scimitar, which is what you're going to be using, and it gives you a bonus to maintain concentration, which is going to be important because you're a melee character who's going to be maintaining concentration on spells. At Bladesinger level 6, class level 10, your combat loop is pretty much going to be set, and we're going to cover that in a sec. But at Bard level 10, you're going to gain Magical Secrets, which is going to give you access to a bunch of really cool spells. Importantly, Spirit Guardians, Haste, Steel Wind Strike, Greater Invisibility, Counterspell, Big B's Hand, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, Conjure Minor Elementals, Wall of Force, Blade Barrier, and a whole bunch more. These spells are going to be critical as you level up to help boost your damage and your combat effectiveness. Let's check out your combat rotation. Now, once you get extra attack from Blade Singing, your combat loop is going to become more complicated than the straight Bard, and it's awesome. The beauty of the 2024 rules is the Nick Mastery. So here's your bread and butter rotation once this build comes online at class level 10. Before combat, you're going to want to try to set up as much as you can. Activate your Blade Song to get its buffs, and cast a non-concentration buff spell like Mirror Image to protect yourself in combat. You're also going to want to cast a concentration spell on yourself after Magical Secrets. We recommend Spirit Guardians because it's awesome and you move around the battlefield a lot. Before that, you can use Cloud of Daggers, Bless, or Fairy Fire. Although as a fun note, if you use Fairy Fire, you might want to flavor it as a bunch of spectral lunar moths hovering around the enemy instead of flames. It's just a fun little visual. Now the actual combat dance. Using your attack action, you're going to make 2 attacks. One of them you're going to replace with True Strike. Although an important note, if you can hit at least 3 targets, you could replace 2 Strike with Word of Radiance. Usually it's better to focus down a single enemy, but this is going to do more damage, and is really effective against weaker mob-type enemies. For your second attack, you're going to make a regular attack with your Scimitar. And because you have the Nick Mastery, this is going to give you a third attack with your offhand Scimitar as part of the same attack action, only you just don't add your ability modifier to the damage of this attack. Now this keeps your bonus action open for Bardic Inspiration on an ally. This triggers Agile Strikes and lets you make an unarmed strike, which could be a knee, a kick, an elbow, a headbutt.
Your head in my butt? I don't want.
Rinse and repeat this combat rotation. Now for tactics. The role of this character is a skirmisher, which means your job is to neutralize enemy action economy and control the battlefield using your physical presence and hit and run attacks. You're extremely mobile and you're really good at kiting enemies. Now, using your combat rotation, this is how you're going to implement it into your tactics. You want to start the combat about half your movement speed from the front line where the tank is. That'll be where the bulk of the melee fighting is going to happen. Use half your movement to advance and do your attacks with your action and bonus action. And then you retreat half your movement speed away. Now, if Spirit Guardians was up, it'll hit people along the way and as you retreat. And yes, the enemy is going to make an opportunity attack against you if they can, but you have spells like Mirror Image, Blur, and Shield, all to help mitigate this. Now this might bait the enemies into chasing you, they might come to attack you, and if an enemy ends its turn next to you, you can then use your Inspiring Movement as a reaction, which also spends 1 of your Bardic Inspiration, letting you make an unarmed strike, and then you're free to move 30 feet without triggering opportunity attacks, and you can move 1 of your allies 30 feet, also without triggering opportunity attacks. Now this is a lot of movement, and this is a lot of opportunity for Spirit Guardians to hit all the enemies. Signature spell combos, tips and tricks. You're incredibly mobile, having Spirit Guardians is a fantastic option. But you can also have Mirror Image and Spirit Guardians up at the same time. You could flavor your spirit guardians as looking like spectral elven warriors helping you in combat, which would kind of give you this giant dance ensemble together when you have your mirror image up. Another great spell combination is Steel Windstrike and Spirit Guardians. It reads like you teleport around the battlefield hitting enemies. You could double down on the damage with the Spirit Guardians. Once you're out of Bardic Inspiration, you could also use other spells, like Bigby's Hand, because then you can use your attack action regularly, and with your bonus action, you can activate Bigby's Hand. Plus, it's like a giant fist you can punch people with around the battlefield, which is just really cool. Similarly, you could also cast Cloud of Daggers, and use your action to move it around, and still have your bonus action free for agile strikes. Final thoughts. This design isn't meant to be the ultimate killer or anything. This is a build based on existing lore, and we're trying to be true to that. Now, min-maxing isn't just about big numbers. It's about making sure that the character is fun at every level and tells a story. And if you build it this way, while you're waiting for everything to start coming online at level 10, this character is still going to have high AC, still going to be a full casting skirmisher, and is going to be very hard to nail down. If you want to see this style in action, check out Breezy de Erden in the latest R.A. Salvatore book, or look up Ed Greenwood's work on Eilistraee. He and Mythmakers right now are creating more lore for the upcoming Realmsbound accessory starting with the Dalelands, which has some pretty cool Eilistraee lore. But that's all for now. Till next time, keep rolling those dice. Goodbye.
In the shadow of flames domain, we bend the rules, we break the chain. Critical strikes with a fiery roar. Level up like never before. Initiative's ours, the battle is set. The dice decide, but no regrets. Wings of power, the dragon's might. In this lair we plan the fight. Flanking foes in the midnight haze. Setting traps that will leave them amazed. Breathing fire on the map we've drawn. Tactics sharp until the break of dawn. In the shadow of flames domain, we bend the rules, we break the chain. Critical strikes with a fiery roar. Level up like never before. In this lair we plan the fight. Ledges crumble when we cast force. Spells erupt with their blazing course. Bind your saving, throw your ACs tight. In this lair we own the fight. In the shadow of flames domain, we bend the rules, we break the chain. Critical strikes with a fiery roar. Level up like never before.